Thank you very much, Tanya, and welcome everyone. Yeah, so I think that presentation will be slightly different than what my previous speakers were talking about. It will be less, so to speak, data-based, but I will talk about the practice and the literature. So that's what we have. So yeah, the phases of weather communication. I am an impact-based meteorological officer. So I'm not a meteorologist, but I'm someone working on the way we communicate the warnings and the impacts of severe weather to the public. So I would like to start with this idea of the value of weather service, because, well, what we produce on a daily basis is forecasts, warnings, and weather observations, and they all contribute to that message that is going out to the public, and it's also all the data that is going into the forecasting, computational modeling, and then forecasters' judgment. So it all contributes to what they construct as a forecast. And what we do as meteorological services to anticipate from the public, well, we anticipate that they will understand our message. Basically, we hope that they will get the idea of the weather semantics. So many times I saw it in Ireland that how the forecast is being constructed, it's heavy with jargon. So it's obviously simple for the forecasters who deal with it on a daily basis. It might not be so simple for the public. So what would you call a blustery winds? For a forecaster, it's a very specific message. For the public, it might be varied. Transient rains, transient showers, again, it might be a bit convoluted, or it's not directly relatable on a daily basis. So we also anticipate that people care about the weather we care about in meteorological service. So again, we care about severe events. We care about high record temperatures. We care about unusual patterns, maybe. Do people always care about that? Well, not necessarily. And we also anticipate that people will know how to act on the weather we give them in the forecast. So, during the severe weather, we hope that they will take protective action, that they will get some mitigating measures, that they will maybe take shelter if they're out in the open. But again, it's the onus on the public to act in a correct way. We don't really give that information. So again, why is it dangerous? It's dangerous because there's a dissonance. There's a dissonance between the cognitive action, and then there's a dissonance about what we message about. So ideally, what we want to message about is not only the hazard, but also the vulnerability of the people, the impact that they can expect from the weather, and finally, the action that they can take to protect themselves. So I prepared 3 questions, I believe, that can spark your imagination, hopefully. So the question 1 is, in what context do people actually check weather forecast? Well, I won't be going like the school thing with hands up, but the idea is that people care about weather forecast when they are going out. That's the main predicament. They go when they do visiting or shopping or leisure activity, when they are running, when they are jogging, when they are going on a cycle. That's when they check forecast short term. When they are doing tourism activities, they care about the sub-seasonal forecast. When they care about farming activities, they care on a seasonal forecast. And where maybe in some cases, unlikely, they do care about a whole year outlook, so a comparative basis, climate to climate, a year on a year comparison. So these are again the kind of the cognitive aspects of when people care about the weather forecast. And we did a study. It's still under review, so I don't have any tangible data, but we found out that only in 60% of cases, people do check weather forecasts daily. So out of the whole population, around 60% check the forecast. So question 2, what is the difference between forecast checking, direct observation, and action? So what we found in the same study that while 60% of people check the weather forecast, 80% of people observe the weather outside. So, I might go onto my weather app, check, oh, it's going to rain in 5 hours. But what I'm more likely to do is, oh, I'm going out in 2 hours, I will look out the window and know what the weather is like. I will look at the clouds that are getting darker and darker on the horizon, anticipate it might rain, it might not. I don't have a full appreciation of the weather. I'm not a forecaster, but again, I will look outside and I'll have a rough idea about what's going to happen. And then that translates into the action that people actually take or not. Because in many cases, what we also found in that study is people do check the weather or they observe it outside and then they do nothing about it. In 67% of cases, people did check the forecast on their weather app while working in the office, but only 15 or 16% modified their plans when going out of the work. So it means that they anticipated some kind of weather, they did nothing about it. And question 3, what do people do? How do they plan activities in line with the weather forecast? Because that's an important part. Ideally, we would like people to take our forecast and have an action based upon it. So, you might be doing your daily routines. In the morning, you do the house chores, you drive your kids to the school, you go yourself to the office, or just come back home, do the home office. Then maybe some leisure time in the afternoon, maybe some outdoor sports, I don't know. But all of those ideally can be aligned with the weather forecast, right? If it's going to rain, you might postpone your shopping. If it's going to be sunny, maybe instead of staying home and watching TV, you can go out and have a jog. So do people plan activities in line with the weather forecast? Not really. About 1/3 do. So again, how do we increase that action? How do we increase the behavior that is aligned with the weather forecast we provide? And yeah, question 4, how does the weather information reduces or influences cognitive load during severe weather? So this is more specific, again, to my personal work, is how we provide information so that people don't have to do the whole reasoning about, oh, the weather is going to be this way, I have to do this, 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 and this. We want to give them direct personal prompts that can, initiate the action. So we have to narrow the gap between what the weather will be to what the weather will do to them and how they can act on that weather. So I would say 7 characteristics that ideally can be incorporated to make weather information more adequate. So we have to make weather information more, first, accessible. So it is available to everybody in any way that is most appropriate to them. So in many cases, that's through the app. It has to be a responsive app so we can check in for a bit more data. Maybe we want to check probabilities. Maybe we want to check the weather forecast. Some people prefer going contact the TV forecast. It has that added element of what we call assisted cognition. So there's a broadcaster explaining the synoptic situation on the screen that helps people relate sometimes. And sometimes they like to have only a text-based prompt. Like during severe weather, we got a prompt about, a warning. There's a warning for severe weather, and then there's a list of actions that you can do. So it has to be accessible. It has to be inclusive. So we often don't think about people who might be, for example, blind, or people who are colorblind, or people who maybe not necessarily have a digital literacy, right? So they do not have always the aspect of being that readily available information. We have to make it more inclusive in whatever ways we think. The weather information has to be visually representative. So what we found in our studies that many cases, people do judge the weather on the icons or quick snapshots from the radar. They look at just one image and they judge the whole situation based on that. So within the semantic context, we have to make those icons and those maps representative. They have to be easy to extract the information about what's going to happen. Number 4, they have to be simplistic. Don't go for that over-descriptive forecast. Do minimum necessary and maximum representative. So we want it to be simple, quick, and easy for the people. We want it to be cognitively uncomplicated. So again, that kind of ties with number 4. We want to narrow the gap between the perceived weather and the perceived action. Number 6, we want it to be attributable to impacts. So again, it doesn't matter what you say, it's going to be 60, 70 millimeters of rain. People don't think about the rain that matter. They usually think, oh, is it gonna flood my home? Do I need to install the pumps? Do I need to get, maybe sandbags to protect my home from the flooding? We need it to be attributable to impacts. And 7, it must be actionable. So again, it's kind of following the logic of that cognition, impact, action. So again, if people know how they can protect themselves, if we give them the prompts, that's going to make it so much easier for us and for them. And I wanted to also consider who issues the impact-based information, because in many cases, it's the official bodies. If you have ever been interested in CAP, so it's the Common Alerting Protocol, it's a set of basically a code that is being distributed to many different formats. It can be picked up by your phone. It can be picked up by the roadside banner. It can be picked up by the TV news or website. It displays the warning immediately, whatever it is given. So this can be given by official bodies, Met Services, National Emergency and Coordination Centers, and disaster risk reduction bodies. But there is a caveat, because in some cases, this information from the CAP is being taken by the private redistributors. So, I remember on Tuesday, there was the red alert from the Slovenian Weather Service, and I got that exact information on my Google Maps. So Google is a private company. They got the information through CAP. That's excellent. But how do we make sure that every time what is given by those private redistributors is adequate? Because again, the warning might change in the meantime. It might, maybe the severity will be higher. Maybe the location will be slightly different. Meteorologists know they act quickly. Those private redistributors, sometimes there are problems. I know for sure we had a problem during the storm Eowyn early in January this year. One of the redistributors in Ireland was giving outdated warnings on the wrong level. So we already said, well, the warning level has been lowered to orange. They've still been talking about red in northern counties when it was not happening at all. So we have to consider who is really providing that information. How can we ensure that it's reliable, that it's adequate, and that it's official? Ideally, we want official, we want a one voice message. And at the very end, I took that very quotation from Daniel Kahneman, who is a psychologist. And he said, the confidence people have in their beliefs is not a measure of the quality of evidence, but of the coherence of the story that the mind has managed to construct. So what I want to say with that quotation is, we have to contribute in some way to a correct story that people build in their minds. Because we can give the best evidence, but as long as people don't care, as long as people don't make that connection, it doesn't matter. It might not be my expertise, might not be directly in biometeorology, but I would say it's very much connected to psychometeorology. So it's kind of an emerging field, I would say. And again, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, I would very much welcome them afterwards. Thank you.